Origin Jazz, almost Rex, and this is Miscellaneous Miss. Pwyll, Prince of Dyved. Right? I don't know how to pronounce that. Pwyll. How you pronounce that? Pwyll, Prince of Dyved. Dyved? I don't know. This is what channel Wole Sarcastic production, obviously. Everyone pissed I left Wales. Oh, okay, this is Wales. Yeah, Wales, names is hard to pronounce, I guess. That's what I've gathered so far. Wales out of my list of Catholic countries. Raise your hand, and if you are one of the 3,170,000 people in Wales, please use those raised hand to cover your ears so you don't hear me butchering your beloved language when I talk about the first branch of the Mabinogi. Right? Is that how you say it? Yeah. Strap in for the adventure of Pwyll, legend's most confusingly pronounced ruler. I disgraced my 15th century Welsh potato farming ancestor with this transgression against good Welsh pronunciation. Sorry, great, etc. Grandpa Jim. Okay. Yeah, I've never reacted to Welsh mythology. This is gonna be fun. I think I've reacted to Irish one, Scottish one too, obviously, and most other ones too, like old American mythologies. Old, of course it's old, it's mythology, old American mythologies, lots of the European, Japanese, but yeah, this is the first Welsh one, I think. Yeah, remember, if you like my reaction, don't forget to like and subscribe, check out the reaction, there's a link in the description, check out the cards, please check out the end cards, and yeah, let's do this one.
Welsh mythology is a comparative unknown when compared to bigger names in Celtic mythology, to the point where I kind of forgot to mention it in my earlier videos on the subject. Sorry, Wales baby, it won't happen again. When Celtic mythology is on the table, Scotland and Ireland are generally thought to be the big contributors, with Breton and Cornish mythology providing some of the wackier mythical creatures like the Ankou and Corrigan, as well as the fairy tale classics like giants and mermaids. Welsh mythology didn't have as much overlap with the other Celtic contributors, but it did have a mythology of its own, much of it being famously codified in the 4-part Mabinogi. So today we're going to be talking about the first part of the Mabinogi, specifically the exploits of Pwyll, Prince of Dyved. And before you ask, no, I can't pronounce these names any better
What? How did she say it?
Specifically the exploits of Pwyll, Prince of Dyved.
Fish? Where is ass? There is no ass in the word.
And before you ask, no, I can't pronounce these names any better than I can pronounce Irish names. Sorry. So Pwyll is out hunting one day when he winds up getting separated from his hunting party and finds himself lost. Not one to stop the party just because he's lost and alone on the misty moorland, Pwyll instead focuses on some strange dogs he notices harrying a deer, and sends his own dogs to drive them away so he can catch it instead. But as it turns out, these dogs belong to Arawn, king of Anwen, the Welsh mythological otherworld, which as it turns out is where they are right now. Don't ask how Pwyll managed to get so lost that he ended up in fairyland, I'm sure he couldn't tell you. So Arawn is mildly pissed about the dog thing, but says Pwyll can make it up to him if he helps him out with a little problem he has. See, Arawn is technically only king of half of Anwen. The other half belongs to this dude Havgan, and they don't really get along. The last time they fought, Arawn took down Havgan, but Havgan tricked him into whacking him a second time, which let Havgan magically heal all his injuries. They're scheduled to fight in 1 year's time, so Arawn wants Pwyll to take his place in the battle and defeat Havgan in a single.
So if he hit him second time and that, healed his injury. I guess combat is really different in this world.
Strike. Pwyll is totally cool with this, as he apparently is with most things, so Arawn disguises them as each other and sends Pwyll off to rule his kingdom for a year. Pwyll heads to the court, acclimates quickly, and has the time of his life partying it up and ruling the kingdom. The food is great, the environment is fun, and best of all, Arawn's wife is a beautiful and interesting lady who's loads of fun to talk to. Long story short, Pwyll has a blast spending his year
I think he did more than talk, but okay.
ruling the kingdom until fight time rolls around, when he heads off to the battlefield to do Havgan one-on-one. They have a pretty nifty duel, and Pwyll gets in a solid hit, at which point Havgan goes all, "Oh, I am slain, won't you finish me off?" and Pwyll is like, nah, and heads off to conquer the other half of Anwen. Then Pwyll meets back up with Arawn, who strips the illusions off and sends him back home. Pwyll is stoked to find that his kingdom has flourished in his absence under Arawn's rule, and he explains to his court what exactly happened and what he's really been up to for the past year. Arawn, meanwhile, returns home, relaxes, then goes to bed with his wife, who's surprised at him and explains her confusion by telling him that he hasn't even looked at her in bed for a year. Arawn is stunned by Pwyll's total bro move of not sleeping with his wife when he had the chance, and it's a happy ending for everybody.
Whoa, a real gentleman there. So I was wrong. He did just talk, okay. Some fun facts about what just happened. Pwyll earns the... I can't pronounce the word. I'm just gonna say Pwyll. Pwyll earns the title Chief of Anwen for his work uniting the two halves of the kingdom. Which just seems like a nice token gesture at first, but basically he's just earned the status of an underworld god. The implication is that after he dies, Pwyll steps into his role as a god of Anwen. It also makes sense that this will be explicitly stated Welsh mythology and literature has a strong tendency to characterize Celtic deities only as mortal heroes. The hero of the third and fourth branches of the Mabinogi. The mortal Menavidan fable, for the love, is equivalent to the deity Menanan Maclir, the Irish god of the ocean and guardian of the underworld. It also goes a long way towards explaining why this title is such a big deal. Pwyll is also mentioned in the 10th century Welsh poem, I can't pronounce it, which documents King Arthur's raid on the underworld, otherworld, fun stuff. Okay.
So that's how Pwyll made friends with the king of the otherworld. His next major achievement is getting married. You'd think this wouldn't be nearly as complex or time-consuming, but you'd be wrong. See, Pwyll hears about this hill where if you sit on it, you either get grievously injured or you see a miracle. Pwyll ain't afraid of no grievous bodily harm, so he plops his butt down on the hill and immediately sees a beautiful woman riding a white horse. Pwyll's enterprising subjects immediately take off after her, but apparently her horse works by horror movie logic because even though she's just at a casual trot, none of Pwyll's men can catch up with her. Pwyll saddles up to chase her down himself before
Not like horror movie plot. No, it's like a scripted event in a game. It doesn't matter what you do, you can't catch him.
Finds himself in the same boat as his subjects and runs his horse to exhaustion before he thinks to ask the lady if she'd maybe mind slowing down a little. So the lady in question introduces herself as
okay. So yeah, there you go. No sexism is allowed here. You want to catch me? What am I, some kind of an animal? No. Ask me first. Oh, you asked me. All right, I'm gonna stop that.
is Rhiannon, and she says she's come to find Pwyll because she'd like to marry him. See, she's been betrothed to this guy she's not a big fan of, but she'd much rather marry Pwyll, who, apparently dazzled by Rhiannon's nice dress and incredible horse riding skills, decides he wants to marry her too. Well, that was easy. Well, not quite. Rhiannon and
Well, I just chased you, so I guess I want to marry you.
Pwyll arranged to be married a year later, but when the day arrives, their fancy party is crashed by a stranger, who introduces himself as a petitioner and asks Pwyll for a boon. Pwyll says sure, anything, and as Rhiannon facepalms in the background, the stranger demands that Pwyll give him Rhiannon as well as the party fixings and the feast. So yeah, turns out the petitioner is Gwawel, son of Clede, aka Rhiannon's former fiancé. Unfortunately, Pwyll is honor-bound to honor his request and give her up, but Rhiannon's prepared for this occasion and surreptitiously gives Pwyll a plan to let him fix this mess. So 1 year later, Rhiannon and Gwawel are all set to be married when Pwyll appears in disguise as a humble peasant, with nothing but an empty bag and a request. Gwawel, learning from history, says sure, anything, within reason, and Pwyll simply requests that he be allowed to fill his sack with food. This suspiciously reasonable request is
Within reason. He's smart there, I guess.
honored, and Pwyll begins dumping food into the bag. But something's funny about this bag. No matter how much food he dumps into it, it doesn't get any fuller. In desperation to save his party, Gwawel asks what it would take to fill the bag, and Pwyll innocently replies that he's sorry he forgot to mention it earlier, but the bag will only be full if a nobleman steps into it and tells it to knock it off. So as Rhiannon stifles a giggle in the background, Gwawel steps into the bag, and Pwyll immediately shoves him into it, takes over the party, and reclaims his fiancé. Pwyll makes Gwawel promise to leave him and Rhiannon alone, and the happy couple are properly married without incident. No, the next incident comes a few years later, when after having gone
That was the story, right? That she is riding, running away with the horse because she wanted his attention. But he just sends people after her like she's a thing or something. She's like, fuck that. They're like, okay, would you stop a minute? Now that's proper. Then she stopped, asked him to marry her, obviously, because she didn't like that other guy. Other guy literally tricks the Pwyll and takes her, and they do all these shenanigans. It's ridiculous.
Childish for long enough that people are starting to talk, Rhiannon gets pregnant and has a son. This is great news, but that night, the maids guarding the baby fall asleep, and when they wake up, the baby's gone. Panicked at the thought of having to admit that they lost the royal baby, the maids conclude that the only sane solution is to frame Rhiannon for infanticide and claim she ate the baby. Rhiannon is rightly livid at the accusation, but unfortunately,
Okay, so let me get this straight. They thought that the prince, king, whatever, they will be pissed and they'll be punished. These three, so they just thought, fuck that. I'm gonna blame it, the wife, the mother, and just say that she ate the baby. What? Regret to inform you that you ate the baby, ma'am. It was horrible, traumatizing.
Fortunately, the baby is gone, which is a pretty bad sign for her "I didn't eat the damn baby" claim. There's an uproar, and Pwyll is once again urged to divorce her and marry a less controversial queen, to which Pwyll responds with, "The only reason you a-holes could give for me to divorce my wife was that she hadn't had a kid. She's had a kid, so she's still my wife." And that's the end of that. But despite still being the queen and all, Rhiannon is ordered to do 7 years of penance for eating the baby, which entails her sitting by the city gates and telling anyone new in town the
Welcome to Dyved. Wanna hear about the time oh, come on, how is this impossible? What, so 3 servants or whatever just said that she ate the baby. I guess their word is bigger than the queen's. That's it? Just saying is enough? Damn, this is effed up. Why didn't king go like, okay, I see through your deception, I'm the king. You lost my baby, you're bullshitting now, something like that.
story of how she totally ate her baby, and then she also has to offer to carry them wherever they're going. But if you were wondering where the baby actually went, we cut to a convenient childless couple. There are so many in stories like these that, due to a series of complicated shenanigans involving a horse-killing monster, wind up with a mysterious baby on their doorstep. The couple in question is composed of the horse lord Rhiannon and his wife, and they react to the mysterious doorstep baby the same way all fictional childless couples do, and immediately take him in and raise him as their own. The child grows supernaturally fast and also gets along really well with their horses, but one day Rhiannon hears about
Does he fly too? Because this feels like really Superman type. They took on the baby grew up, and baby had superpowers.
Rhiannon and her penance for apparently eating her baby. Then he takes a good hard look at his kid, notes a certain family resemblance, and bundles him off to the castle to introduce him to his
You're like, okay, wait a minute, kid. Let me compare the photos. Ah, shit.
real parents. So, having solved the mystery of the missing baby after an indeterminate number of years, the kid finally gets a name so I can stop calling him the kid all the time. Rhiannon names him Pryderi, which means worry or concern, or maybe I'm going to strangle those handmaidens for telling everyone I ate you. It's a language of many beautiful complexities.
Now she's gonna strangle. She knew she didn't eat her own baby. She knew the truth if people didn't. Why didn't she just went ballistic and kill them anyway? I mean, 3 assholes who lost her baby, that's traumatizing enough already, and now claim that she ate them. The first time they said that you ate the baby, she should have strangled them.
And those are the life and times of the unpronounceable Pwyll, Prince of Dyved, because eventually he dies in part 1 of the Mabinogi and wraps up. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to go ice my jaw because I'm pretty sure I sprained something trying to get all those names right, which I didn't.
Rhiannon rings like a bell through the night.
That's it? What? How did the baby came from whatever that monster was? When the monster died, the baby was there. How did the baby got there in the first place? Was just magically teleported there? There is no explanation in that. In the first story where, the prince basically went to that other kingdom and helped out that guy. What was the point of that story? It's just there. Like how gentleman this prince is. That was the point of that story is. Damn, this story was going, even though it was fun, man. It felt creative. The way it was jumping from here and there. But I felt like there must be some kind of an end story. But that's it. Damn.
And wouldn't you love to love her? Takes to the sky.
In case it wasn't clear, the distinction between otherworld and underworld is pretty vague in this mythology. And in a number of... underworld doesn't necessarily... There's a hell. No. Otherworld. It doesn't necessarily have to be, hell type underworld or something. Some other mythologies can have something like that. It's just otherworld. It's not evil, it's not bad, it's just otherworld.
Like a bird in flight, and who will be her lover? All your life.
Similarly, much of Celtic mythology doesn't really distinguish between fairies and ghosts. I mean, yeah, in Irish Scottish folklore, the Slough are the wandering, cursed, restless dead, which swarm through the sky like birds while also being considered a particularly nasty kind of fairy. I mean, fairy just being a good ghost, that could be the mythology, why not? I mean, ghost and fairies are different, doesn't have to be a thing. There don't need to be any distinction like that. Both are the same thing. One are ghosts, there are some kind of, more, good-spirited fairies or something. I don't know, who were never alive, they were always fairy or something. Others who died and became fairy-type ghost or something. They're the same type of spirit or something, who knows?
Life you've never seen a woman taken by the wind. Would you stay?
Oh, there's lots of words. Scottish folklore delineates more respectable fairies into Silai and Unsilai. courts, where Scyllae are holy or happy spirits, and Ancillae are misfortunate or unhappy spirits. Such subdivisions are not uncommon in Celtic folklore, but regardless of happiness or holiness, fairies were not to be messed with or trusted. Oh, is that how it is? So fairies are just natural creatures. Whether happy, not happy, or whatever, happy or unhappy, good, bad, none of that matters. You shouldn't mess with them. That's the thing. Okay. Or even trusted. So how are they happy and holy if you can't even trust them? They tended to work by their own internal logic.
If she promised you heaven,
and would wreak mischief on people who violated the personal rules and reward those who followed them. Oh, so there's principles and rules. So I guess, yeah, that makes sense. Different rules.
will you ever win?
Oh, there's more.
She's like
This might be why Havgan has such an odd healing property, or why Arawn showered Pwyll with rewards for not sleeping with his wife. Ah, okay. Wait a minute. He showered Pwyll with rewards? When did he do that? Pwyll went away to his kingdom, and then Arawn, or whatever the guy's name is, realized that he didn't even sleep with his wife. So what? He rewarded him somehow that, even he didn't know or something. They both have their own internal fairy logic. And when Pwyll followed it, he won Rhiannon despite being by all accounts human. Might have similar property. Oh, okay, I understand it. Now he's a god or something. That's okay. As evinced by her trick with the horse, and how Pwyll could only catch her by asking her permission. Yeah, that's something.
like a cat in the dark, and then she is the darkness. She rules her life like a
Hard to say. In general, if it's Celtic folklore and doesn't otherwise make sense, it gets called a fairy, which really only serves to confuse matters. Ah, okay.
skylark when the sky is starless. All your life
Anwen was specifically characterized as a paradise of eternal youth and prosperity, and wasn't surprisingly equated with the Christian concept of heaven in later centuries. Yeah, the prince, this Pwyll, the prince, is really, honorable guy, right? Because he got the chance to rule in that kingdom as the other guy, because he looked like the other guy and had the chance to sleep with the wife. He could have easily taken over, stealing the identity of the guy and just I'm this guy now, fuck you. But he didn't. He didn't even sleep with the guy's wife. That's something.
life you've never seen a woman taken by the sky.
There you go. Alright people, that was Welsh mythology. I liked it, how diverse and more complex it was. It wasn't just straightforward like some kind of a message or something. No, it was fun. I hope she does more Welsh mythology, or maybe she already did. If you know her, any other Welsh mythology she did, comment down, I guess. Yeah. If you like my reaction, don't forget to like and subscribe. Check out the lyrics and there's a link in the description. Check out the cars, all the playlists, check out the end cards, and I'll see you next time.